And now every single brand needs to be explicitly designed to appeal to everything they believe politically. I don't demand that everything I buy appeal to me as a commie or whatever, but these people really do. It is identity politics from floor to ceiling. Any final comments?
No, I love it. I just like this is, I don't know how Roger, I mean, yes, I do. Roger Stone has no pride. He's got no sense of shame. That is why he's making commercials that seem like fake commercials.
They do.
That should play in a montage setting up a character who has fallen to his lowest lows.
Right.
Like,
how
this,
have you not filmed? Like, you need to get one of those hats and film an ad like this.
I love that observation about all the hats. He's like, I'm Roger Stone. I want you to know that I didn't just make one terrible decision at the Haberdashers.
Yeah, you go in there and just you walk out, you got 30 hat boxes. That's just how alpha men roll. Anyway, that's all the time we have for the show. Thank you, Brett. As always, a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, everyone out there. Thank you especially to all of you who have been going crazy on a tear with the gifting of memberships on YouTube and the subscriptions on Twitch. I really do appreciate it. We'll have updates next week on possible stretch goals and to see who else's head we will ruin. So stay tuned for that, but thank you in advance. I'm gonna be leading the first hour of the Young Turks later on today. Brett, you wanna say something?
Yeah, I just want to say I have a video. Listen, I didn't make any new videos, but my old videos remixed on Rebel HQ last week have me at like #1 in the per video viewership on Rebel HQ. That's how good they are. This Sunday, dropping a new one where Anthony Jeselnik, who's an expert comedian, absolutely destroys Steven Crowder. And then it goes into more how Jon Stewart and he really understand what comedy's about. So enjoy that.
I want to see
Rebel
that. That
HQ
sounds
this
good.
weekend.
For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's Indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Senator Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator, professor, and senior fellow at Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. Always fascinating to have her analysis. Top story of the day, hell of a thing. Body camera released of Airman, okay? Senior airman shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy in Florida. He's on Zoom with his girlfriend when it happens. He's posing no threat. He has not called the police, but he gets shot and killed. Here's the video.
Are they fighting or something?
He's saying that it happens frequently.
Okay.
But this time it sounded like it was getting out of hand.
Sheriff's office, open the door. Sheriff's office, open the door. Step out. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
It's over there.
Drop the gun!
I don't have it.
312, shots fired. Suspect down. Do not move!
Put up the picture full mass. This young man was 23 years of age. Senior Airman Roger Fortson from DeKalb County, Georgia. He graduated from the same high school I went to. He was shot and killed in Florida Friday during an incident involving an Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputy. The deputy, according to the official report, was responding to a call of a disturbance in progress when, quote, he reacted in self-defense. You see, he was in no danger, but the official report said he reacted in self-defense after he encountered, quote, a man armed with a gun. That's completely legal in the United States of America. You have the right to bear arms. I thought you all liked that in Florida. Per the agency, Fortson, based at Fort Walton Beach's Halbert Field, was shot residence and was taken to a hospital where he died. The deputy involved has been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. I want you to look at that picture. Where's the gun? It's on the side. Because he's trained. Okay? He posed no threat. He did not aim his gun. He was simply engaged in a constitutional right. His right to bear arms. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office released the body cam video Thursday with officials stating the deputy was at the right door. That is still a question. But he came out, the sheriff said the deputy was at the right door and did not cover the peephole of the unit. I will explain why that part is important in a moment. The sheriff continued to say he told Fortson's family, if the shooting is found to be unjustified, the picture's right there, the video's right there. Obviously, it's unjustified. But the sheriff says, if it is found to be unjustified, their son's name will be fully vindicated and justice will be served. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who has taken on the case and is representing the family, believes law enforcement burst into the wrong unit while responding to the call. Crump said Senior Airman Fortson was on FaceTime. He was calling someone on FaceTime at the moment with a woman at the time of the encounter. She heard the whole thing. He told her to hold on. According to Crump, the woman, who Crump did not identify, said Fortson was alone in his apartment when he heard a knock at the door. He asked who was there, but did not get a response. A few minutes later, Fortson heard a louder knock, but did not see anyone when he looked through the peephole, Crump said, citing the woman's account. The woman said Fortson was concerned and went to retrieve his gun, which Crump said was legally owned. Now, let's paint the scene here and compare narratives, all right? What does the sheriff do? The sheriff makes statements that he cannot or has not confirmed in fact. Do you believe that a trained senior airman is aware of how to look out of his own damn peephole? He was doing nothing illegal. He looked to see who was knocking on his door like SWAT or a robber, and he could not see outside of his peephole. Immediately, he becomes suspicious He doesn't just start shooting through the door because he doesn't want to kill somebody that may not be worthy of death. So he goes back to retrieve his gun, puts it on his side. He's in the armed services and in the state of Florida. Damn right he went to go get his gun. But he did not point it. He did not threaten. And he did not resist any command whatsoever. There's more. As Fortson walked back through his living room, deputies decided to go ahead and just burst through the door. And they saw that Fortson was armed. And they decided to just go ahead and shoot 6 times. That's according to Crump's statement, excuse me. The woman said Fortson was on the ground saying, quote, "I can't breathe," after he was shot, Crump said. The woman said Fortson wasn't causing a disturbance during their FaceTime call and believed that deputies must have had the wrong apartment, Crump's statement said. Now, I want you to understand the narrative of the sheriff here. The sheriff is saying they did not have the wrong apartment. Now, let's provide context to that statement. He may be saying that they went to the right apartment based on the 911 call, which means the person who called said the wrong apartment. Do you understand the game they may be playing here? Okay? The circumstances surrounding Roger's death raise serious questions that demand immediate answers from authorities. Questions that demand immediate answers from authorities, especially considering the alarming witness statement that the police entered the wrong apartment, Crump said. We are calling for transparency in the investigation into Roger's death and the immediate release of the body cam video to the family. We're talking about the full video. His family and the public deserve to know what occurred in the moments leading up to this tragedy. Crump is a nationally known attorney. He's based in Tallahassee, Florida. He has been involved in multiple high-profile law enforcement shootings involving Black people, including those of Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Tyree Nichols, and George Floyd. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office did not immediately respond to an email or voicemail from the Associated Press seeking comment about Crump's claim, but Sheriff Eric Aiden posted a statement on Facebook Wednesday afternoon expressing sadness about the shooting. Quote, "At this time, we humbly ask for our community's patience as we work to understand the facts that resulted in this tragic event." The Sheriff's Office also declined to immediately identify the responding deputies or their races. Officials said earlier this week that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the local state attorney's office will investigate the shooting. FDLE spokeswoman Plessinger told the Associated Press on Wednesday that it is highly unlikely the agency will have any further comment until the investigation is complete. Fortson was assigned to the 4th Special Operations Squadron as a special missions aviator, where one of his roles as a member of the squadron, Ghost Rider aircrew, was to load the gunships 30mm, 105mm cannons during missions. Fortson's death draws striking similarities to other Black people killed in recent years by police in their own homes in circumstances that involve officers responding to the wrong address or responding to service calls with wanton uses of deadly force. In 2018, a white former Dallas police officer fatally shot, remember, Botham Jean, an unarmed Black man, after mistaking his apartment for her own. Amber Geiger, the former cop, was found guilty of murder. She was only sentenced to 10 years after the judge gave her a really nice hug before she went to prison. 2019, the white former Fort Worth, Texas officer fatally shot Ms. Jefferson through a rear window of the home after responding to a non-emergency call and report. The report called that Jefferson's front door was open. Aaron Dean, the former cop, was found guilty of manslaughter. 2022 was only sentenced to 12 years for taking that innocent life. Crump has represented families in both cases as part of his ongoing effort to force accountability for the killings of Black people at the hands of the police. Quote, what I'm trying to do, as much as I can, even sometimes single-handedly, is increase the value of Black life. Crump told the Associated Press in 2022 following the conviction of former Minneapolis officer in the murder of George Floyd. Fort Walton Beach is between Panama City Beach and Pensacola in the Florida Panhandle. So they go in to an apartment. Young man works for the federal government. He serves his country. There should be significant outrage from those who are, well, pro-military, pro-veterans, right? Where's the advocacy groups? You see, the reason why you don't see that same kind of response right now is because a 23-year-old Black male who serves in the military does not fit their narrative when he gets shot by the police and he should be alive. And because it doesn't fit their narrative, they will say very little to nothing about this tragic end of an innocent life. All right.
Yeah, Doc, this is I sigh deeply moment, I curse deeply moment. I mean, watching that video is very troubling. And you really took the words right out of my mouth. Part of my notes, I'm saying, where's the NRA?
Yep,
Where is the Second Amendment absolutists? Where are they? And this is in the state of Florida where Zimmerman got more respect for gunning down Trayvon Martin than they gave this airman. Being Black, being an airman while Black, being in your home while Black, holding a gun in your own home while Black, all of that is pretty much against the law, de facto and de jure in the United States of America. And I really love what Attorney Benjamin Crump said when he said he's trying to bring value to Black lives. That is a lofty goal, because the devaluing of Black lives has been going on in this country even before its inception. And we are reminded over and over again, incident after incident, that this is true. That not only don't Black lives matter, Black pain doesn't matter either. That Sheriff Doc made a grave mistake. He should have empathized first. But you don't tell the parents after the investigation if your son is proven, to be innocent, so to speak. And I'm paraphrasing what he said. Right. We're gonna clear his name. You can't clear his damn name. He's dead.
That's right.
And the way that officer comported himself, Doc, they're programmed. Like he didn't even give a thought. He saw a gun and he just started shooting. And then he spouted off what they say all the time. Weapon, I felt my life was in danger. Don't move. All of that. I want people, our listeners, our viewers to know that's an automatic response by law enforcement. He wasn't even thinking. He was totally on autopilot. Black man with a gun in his own home, hands not on the gun, but I am going to shoot first and ask questions later. And then when I am asked, why did you shoot this man? I feared for my life.
Because it works. Because it has worked for so many decades. In this
my
country.
God. I can't with these people.
We'll bring updates as updates come, guaranteed. All right, 50 Cent. I want to highlight this. Earlier in the week, 50 Cent had to defend Black children because the New York governor said this. Here it is.
Young Black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word a computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Come on, Governor Karen. I mean, Governor Kathy. Put it up for a mass. I'm going to highlight why this nuance and this context is so dangerous, but it can seem very subtle. If you don't pay attention to it, it'll get right past you. Queens rapper 50 Cent took to social media to slam the New York governor for saying that young Black youth in the Bronx, they don't know what a computer is. The governor made the erroneous and what some believed racially charged statement on Monday, May 6th at the Milken Institute Global Conference in California. Per the AP, the governor made the comment while being interviewed at the conference to discuss expanding economic opportunities in artificial intelligence for low-income communities. The remark was not addressed during the interview, as the governor explained her goal is to provide avenues for communities of color to access emerging AI technologies as a means to address social inequality. Now, that is the contextualization that most people would have taken from that statement, okay? The reality is there is a digital divide. There's an AI divide. I work in that space as well. We do intentional things through Rolling Out Magazine to make sure we bring people in the room together to grant disenfranchised communities, historically marginalized communities, opportunities that they do not have to pay for in order to bridge that divide. But if you start from the premise of the lack of access or lack of knowledge, and you provide this very broad stroke, you're not dealing with the cause, you're dealing with the effect, and you are generalizing the effect while ignoring the cause. Understand this, they are in that position, whoever may be in a position of lack because of a design. It's a cause. This is the effect of that cause. There's more. Per the Daily Beast, her gaffe, however, quickly drew condemnation from Bronx elected officials. New York Assembly member Kareem's Rise on the left said she was, quote, deeply disturbed by the governor's remarks and shared a statement from a colleague, Amanda Septim on the right, describing the governor's words as, quote, harmful, deeply misinformed, and genuinely appalling. Now, later that same day, the governor apologized for her remarks. Quote, earlier today, while discussing my commitment to expanding economic opportunity for communities of color, I misspoke and I regret it. Of course, Black children in the Bronx know what computers are. The problem is that they too often lack access to the technology needed to get back on track to high-paying jobs in emerging industries like AI. Can I give a round of applause to the communications director for the governor? Because that's who wrote that, okay? Governor should have said that the first time. This is about them, young folk, having access. And we're going to be intentional about making sure they get it. On Wednesday, May 8th, okay? G-Unit leader commented on the news post regarding the topic. Sad face emoji. I don't know any Black kids that don't know what a computer is in the Bronx. Shrugging his shoulder emoji. What the? They know how to work an iPad better than me. He wrote in the since deleted comment in a separate post hours later. He said, I couldn't believe she said that. End quote. You got to think about the insanity of this. Okay, a cell phone is a computer. Just think about what qualifies as a computer today. And saying that they don't even know what a computer is such a statement of, it shows where you are in your understanding of the community. And it also is a non-serious statement to a very serious matter. If they didn't even know what a computer is, you definitely cannot take them to AI, advanced technology. So naturally, they know what a computer is if you're talking about connecting them to AI technologies. There's more. Within the past few months, 50 Cent has been vocal, actually, about New York City political affairs. In February, the veteran rapper expressed concern over New York Mayor Eric Adams' proposal to give $53 million in cashback cars to economically disadvantaged immigrants. The proposal aimed to help provide relief amid the massive flood of immigrants the city has housed since last year. In a post on X, 50 Cent wrote, quote, I talked to Mayor Adams. He broke down why his pilot program was put in place. He appeared to be on point and on top of things. Now I want to talk to the governor about the laws preventing him from doing the things to make the situation better in New York. Raised eyebrow emoji. And where the proposed $2.4 billion she's planning on spending on migrants is coming from. And then he says, not my taxes. Contextualization of his argument may not be completely agreed with. Now, Atlanta Black Star notes 50 Cent moved to Houston, Texas in 2021, but still seems to have vested interest in his hometown. He has lived in and owns properties, according to riches.com in South Jamaica, Queens, where he grew up. Saddle River, New Jersey, Atlanta, Hollywood Hills, California, Long Island, Farmington, Connecticut, and vacation homes in both Cancun, Mexico, and South Africa. He recently unveiled his G-Unit production studio in Louisiana. It is not clear how actively involved he is in any of the politics in those locations. So I don't need clones to understand what somebody has created a synergy. And I agree with 50 Cent in the comment about the governor. I can't believe she said that. And let me take it a step further. I can't believe she said that and the person interviewing her allowed it. Like, wait a minute, Governor. They know what computers are, Governor. All right, we got to be serious about this conversation because it's a very serious matter. All right, there it is. That's the highlight. Senator Turner, thoughts?
Yeah, good on 50 Cent. I'm glad he's getting involved. I want to see more of our artists get involved. We know there was a period of time where athletes, artists, people like Harry Belafonte in the fight, baby. People like Muhammad Ali in the fight, and so many others. I'm just giving those two as an example. So good on 50 for jumping into the fray on a myriad of issues, and it don't matter where he lives. He's a citizen of this nation and a citizen of this world, and for him to use his cachet to set people straight. Big ups to those Democratic elected officials, because oftentimes, viewers, as you know, people don't often chastise or straighten out the people in their own party. So I'm really glad to see those leaders let this governor know that what you said was racist. I also tweeted and said, you know what, let's treat her like we would treat a Republican who said the same thing. You got to admonish her. You got to let her know what you said was not right. She got to straighten up. So you're right. Kudos to her comms person for getting it right. And you know what, Doc, it's a soft bigotry kind of thing. And I use the word soft. I'm gonna put some air quotes on that because bigotry is bigotry. And they think they can get away with saying this stuff about Black people. What she said, in my mind, is really no different than what President Joseph R. Biden said to Charlemagne the God during the 2020 presidential election cycle, and felt very comfortable saying it, just like she did. So these liberal types, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. indicted them in a very strong way. I recommend people reread the letter to the Birmingham jail. Minister Malcolm X laid it out about the dangers that liberals pose to Black liberation. These are yet two examples of many that people like Governor Holcomb don't even give it a second thought. And my last point, Doc, you are absolutely right. Look, the phone is a computer. These kids are born knowing how. I mean, I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in my life, and I agree with 50. Shoot, they know how to work that iPad like they was born with it. I mean, they be swiping their little hearts out. They know what to do. They even know how to tell it to verbally say to it, search for this and search for that. And they're 2 and 4. So it is an unfortunate comment, but it is one, the reason why we have to raise this issue, because I don't want people, y'all just nitpicking. Oh no, we have to raise this issue because Black people always have to prove, and we're always the punching bag for so many people. Those poor little Black people, they don't know what they're doing, but they need us. They need us, good white folks, to help them out. That's really how her comment came off, and she needs to be checked for that. And hopefully she won't do it again. And again, kudos to 50 Cent and those Democrats who stood up against this Democrat governor for her bigoted, uninformed remarks.
That's right, well said. Implicit bias, hyperaggression, or aggressive bias, it doesn't matter at the end of the bias. The result is the exact same, and that is a biased product, a biased policy product, and that's what we want to steer away from. Big ups to 50 for what he has done. All right, I'm going to give you a contrast here. So there's a white mother who has not been charged and will not be charged after 4 of her babies were found in a freezer, okay? Now, if you remember, just a few days ago, right here in Indisputable, I was reporting to you of a Black woman who had a miscarriage. There was no debate about the miscarriage. She disposed of the miscarried material personally, and she was charged. She was charged with multiple crimes, had to go to court because of these charges. Now, put up the picture for them as. According to an April 30th press release from the Suffolk District Attorney, 69-year-old Alexis Aldemir will not face any criminal charges for a variety of reasons, including her, quote, confusion when questioned about the discovery after the remains of her 4 babies were found frozen solid in her South Boston apartment. The decision is sparking confusion and outrage as news of the announcement has now spread. Police made the gruesome and bizarre discovery November 22nd, 2022. That was based on a tip from family members at of the baby's mother. The bodies of the 2 boys and 2 girls have been tucked into shoeboxes and were wrapped in tinfoil and then stashed in a freezer for decades. DNA testing determined all 4 siblings were the biological children of Aldemir, the owner of the apartment, and an unnamed man who died in 2011. The DA's office, Kevin Hayden, said in a press release, quote, all of the babies were full term. No miscarriage. All of the babies were full term, which means they were determined to be between 37 to 40 weeks of age. All 4 had their umbilical cords attached, and the 2 females had their placentas attached, noting that there were no signs of trauma, obvious injuries to the babies per autopsy. Hayden stated further, quote, this investigation, which is one of the most complex, unusual, and perplexing that this office has ever encountered, is now complete, adding that there are still many questions surrounding these deaths that will likely never be answered. Many online are confused by the decision to close a case and are pointing out a double standard. You see, the treatment of Aldemir stands in stark contrast, for instance, to the case of Brittany Watts, a Black woman from Warren, Ohio, who was arrested and slapped with felony charges, not for freezing her babies, not for having an abortion, but for experiencing a miscarriage in her own bathroom at home in October of 2023. An Ohio grand jury would eventually drop the charge of felony abuse of a corpse in February this year. Prosecutors characterized the case to the judge by saying it wasn't the child, how the child died. So they made no dispute it was a miscarriage, none. But the fetus was put in a toilet and it was large enough to clog the toilet. And she just went on with her day. So we're going to charge her. Watts' defense told the judge Watts was being demonized for something that goes on every day. It's called a miscarriage. It's unfortunate, but happens. So how did Aldemir's babies die? So this is according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Stillbirths occur in about 1 in 75 births each year. And while the rate of late-term stillbirths has improved over the past 3 decades, the rate of early stillbirths still remains steady. The medical examiner, however, could not conclude that and could not determine cause or manner of death. If the victims were born alive or even how long their bodies had been in the freezer, according to the press statement, which noted that, quote, there are no signs of food or milk or formula inside the baby's stomach. They may have just starved to death. Further complicating matters when investigators caught up to Aldemir in a residential healthcare facility. They reportedly found her in a confused state and uncertain about her own identity, which factored into their decision not to pursue criminal charges. Prosecutors suggested that based on her cognitive abilities, she could not stand trial. According to a probate court record, a conservatorship was approved for Aldemir after it was attested that she was, quote, unable to receive, synthesize, and understand new information. Records show that Aldemir bought the apartment in 1983 and had a 5th child with the same father whom she gave up for adoption for more than 40 years. She worked for the same Boston accounting firm, and co-workers interviewed by the police said they did not know about any of her pregnancies at all, adding that she was a heavyset woman who wore loose clothes and never took a vacation. As prosecutor's office cannot ethically move forward, a prosecutor's office cannot ethically move forward with the case that in good faith, it believes it cannot bring to trial, Hayden said in the case report. Here, based on evidence obtained through the investigation, including the many unanswered questions about the cause of death of the 4 babies, prosecutors have made the determination that they will not be able to bring this case to trial. Let's put the prosecutor back up again. The standard for taking someone to trial is current state of mind. And based on the current state of mind, the call is proper. The reason why this story is of such interest is because the call to prosecute a Black woman for having a miscarriage is improper for the other jurisdiction. The contrast here shows here's what happens when you have a thoughtful and studious DA who is applying current rule of law. This is the current rule of law. You don't get around it. It's been codified by the Supreme Court. It's current state of mind. She is not in the current state of mind. But how do you have this justice system? And then a few months ago, right here on Indisputable, we're reporting on a justice system that literally said, we're only prosecuting her because her toilet got clogged. We're not debating any of these other issues. And she literally had to fight for her life, raise money, go on TV, defend herself for never committing a crime. That is the part. All right, Senator, thoughts here.
Yeah, very chilling. You know, for anybody to do something like that, you got to kind of assume they're not in their clothed in their right mind, as my grandmother would say. And you're right, Dr. Prosecutor he made the right decision in this case. But what we're highlighting in this story is the racial disparities in the legal system itself. And those racial disparities or disparate treatment between those who are Black and others, or those who are of color and whites, let's not just say others, or those who are poor and those who are wealthy, are weaved into the legal system in the United States of America from the beginning, and it still reflects on our everyday lives to this very day. That is what must be fixed. Not that this prosecutor, he didn't give this woman any preferential treatment. He followed the law. And also part of following the law is judging each situation differently. But my God, what a way for those babies to die, the ones that were frozen. Let me just, say that. I mean, that just has to be just really gut wrenching to know that all these years that happened, and now just not discovering what happened to those children. Ultimately, the story should remind us that justice is not blind, despite that statue with justice having a blindfold on, because she often sees Black people all the time, and Black people are not treated the same way. Black people are not given the same grace. Even kids, our kids are punished differently. They're suspended. Black boys, by way of example, are suspended at higher rates for some of the same kind of juvenile behavior of their white male peer, but they're suspended at higher rates. More Black men in the system, whether in prison, parole, or probation, even though they only make up about 6-7% of the population. These things are not happening by accident, they're happening on purpose. So the moral of this story is we must change the legal system itself, recognize that justice is not blind, and do something about it so that it is a fairer, just system. It is not, has never been from the beginning, and is not, unfortunately, in 2024.
So well said. And we change systems by raising the consciousness of the people who run them. All right, we got more on the other side. It's Indisputable, stick and stay.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the true crime podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT. And if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
A new TYT app experience is now available. Check out brand new features like voting in polls and signing petitions. You can also follow your favorite TYT shows, join the live chat, engage in message boards, search for and follow topics you care about, and much more. Download the app by searching for TYT in the App Store or via Google Play.
Welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot of comments. Before I go to the comments, I want to remind everyone of the imperative reality of who you are, a member. We want you to be a member. Very thankful that you enjoy the program. For months, TYT has been monitoring the declining media industry. We've had meetings about it. We've looked at it statistically, exhaustively. Over 50 digital media companies have experienced either cutbacks, we're talking about major companies, either cutbacks, layoffs, or completely closed. Don't let that be an experience at TYT, okay? We will not have the same fate. Support our work today by clicking that join button on YouTube, or you can go directly to tyt.com/team. Click that button on YouTube, go ahead and join, become a member. Love to have you. We have some great perks. We got to Ask Anything coming up. I'll talk about that next week. All right? Okay. A lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Jay Casa, I agree. Doc and Nina 2028. Now it's Nina and Doc. Understand that. All right. I'm the behind the scenes guy. That's how you get your hands dirty when you're the vice president. Cheney was a hell of a vice president. Because he didn't say nothing. He just get all the dirt. And
True that. He moved in silence.
He moved his. He was a silent killer, like probably literally. All right, old Cheney. All right, Wolf Dragon Donna. Happy Friday, Rashad and crew. Happy Friday to you. Over 9,000. Doc and Nina. I knew I picked the right day to bring my bring my throwing papers. That's right. Miss your show, Nina. Watching you on Unballs. Got TYT my support. That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And that's right, Mongoose Dragon. Police defunded themselves again and again. That's right. You don't have to worry about the Black Lives Matter activists. The police would do it for you. And Win, give the one Indisputable membership. Thank you so much for that. And one more. Two more, actually. Lady F&T, thank you. What a nice end of week duo. Always good to see Senator Nina. Too bad the news is the same-ish, different day. And Lady F&T also gifted 10 Indisputable memberships. We're thankful, all right? Very thankful for you. Okay, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Why are you? Oh my God!
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your ass cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Do it.
So I will.
Yeah, go for it right now. She's over 18. She is 19 years old.
Her butt cheeks.
You don't get to touch her. You don't get to touch her.
We're all sitting over there.
You don't get to touch her.
Yeah,
You can come up and talk to her, but you do not get to touch her.
Really?
We would love for you to call the police. Go ahead and call the police.
There's a lot more. So the girlfriend offers explanation as to what happened before this. Here it is.
And she comes up to my friend and she reaches under her skirt, yanks it down, and then squeezes her sides because she's wearing a crop top. And it's like, you're probably underage. You probably shouldn't be wearing that. Would you just imply that you think she's a minor and you just assaulted her? And you think, anyway, what? I digress.
So she may have thought it was a minor, which actually makes it worse. She decided to physically, sexually assault another human being. Now, put it at full mass. I got more, okay? This story has a hell of an ending. So this Karen pulls down a teen skirt. She gets arrested for battery. The police were called. And Ida Ann Lorenzo, who says, I work for the state. She's of Santa Clara, Utah, was charged in the 5th District Court with a single count of sexual battery, as she should have been, in connection with the skirt pulling incident that happened in the lobby of a Japanese steakhouse. She's not related to them. She doesn't know them. There is no connection. She told police several times in the body cam footage that she is a state employee. Here it is. She's a state employee. So, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Oh, you thought you the police. Oh, I get what you're saying. I understand. Okay, Senator. So, we only assume that level 5 Karens exist. We have now likely seen the next evolution. This is a level 6 Karen, perhaps did not believe they existed. But if you can be both a government worker for the state and walk up to literally pull down somebody's skirt because you don't like how they're dressing, I call that level 6 action. What say you?
Level 6, Doc, or she don't believe fat meat is greasy, is my grandmother. She a state level Karen. That's what
state
she
level.
is.
That's right. That's it.
A whole new category. First of all, you don't put your hands on nobody else's child. And as you laid out, if she was a minor, it would be worse because now you messing with somebody that's underage. But you're not this person's mother, Karen. See, that's the problem with these Karens. They think they can control everything. They think they know everything. And they also think they can do anything. But she effed around and found out that day because she the one in the car with the handcuffs on, being charged as she should. I don't know, that maybe there's a little jealousy there. I don't know. You know, I could say as somebody that's representing Gen X, all she got to do is get in the gym, baby. She can keep it tight as well. You know, she can keep it tight.
That's right. Yeah, she didn't have to go out like that. I promise you, everybody talk about you in the office, Karen. All right, got something for you. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
A Christian or Jesus, you should not be here. What is your problem?
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
No,
Don't touch
That's
me.
unacceptable.
That's unacceptable.
You know what? You get out of my house. I did not rent it to you or you. You get out of here. You're not on the contract. And you're idiots. You're allowing this room in here. This room has been wet for a week, and you've done nothing but run this fan on you instead of in there. You are complete idiots.
Well, put it up full mass. Hell of a thing here. TikTok user Jesus stated in the post, quote, landlord ignored basement flood when notified and decided to let herself in unannounced, proceeded to wake us up by yelling and assaulting us because my fan was blowing on us in the living room instead of the flooded room. When asked if he was on the rental lease or not, Jesus replied, I am, but I guess she didn't recognize me. Jesus also said that the flooding occurred because of a, quote, burst pipe from outside, told her on a Saturday, and she did not respond until Wednesday. So, you know, landlords cannot just come in and do that at all in any state. And the assault is evident in the video. Now, if Jesus would have jumped up and responded to that assault, all of a sudden the narrative would change, these are violent individuals, etc. But you are assaulting them. And I get it. Let's put up the picture full mass again. There's Jesus is a respectful human being. Okay. Now this is a hell of a situation that Jesus is in. You already are being a slumlord, in my opinion, by not fixing the stuff you're supposed to fix by law. You come in and blame these individuals for doing something wrong when you have not responded to the request from Jesus, according to the narrative. And then you physically attack them. So whatever else you have to say goes out the window with the physical assault of individuals in front of you. All right, Senator Turner, here's the thing. This is an OG Karen. Nothing's going to change here. We just simply provide a highlight, hoping that we can influence Karen wannabes to turn and make other decisions with their lives.
You want the Karen wannabes to turn the other way, right? Not turn the other cheek, turn the other way. Just don't do it, Karen. Just don't do it. You know, Jesus definitely was raised right. Shout out to his parents, because, you know, a normal reaction was, woman, I just know you ain't just hit me like that. Just normal, right? You just want to hit somebody back. But he resisted the urge while this mad woman, this mad Karen, was on the loose. Y'all, we're gonna have to get some special insurance for these mad Karens on the loose. Nobody's safe when they're in the wild like that. They're not. Yeah. But shout out to Jesus, though.
Really, shout out to Jesus. He did quite well there. Did a remarkable job holding himself just, at calm. Okay, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, He has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Thank you for being members, by the way, of either TDR or of TYT. We really appreciate it. We could not do this, without you. Would I still be here without you? That is an open question.
Don't allow the powerful to see you feeling hopeless. Even if you do feel hopeless, wallow in your pity and your misery. And I believe me, I do it all the time in the privacy of your own home. But never let them see that they're getting to you. Never let them think that we're gonna give up or that we feel defeated or deflated. You gotta put your game face on and you gotta keep fighting.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you could subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome. Always good to be with you. I'm pressed for time. I can read a couple of comments. Lucifer the Wolf, AKA Sang Hailey, please forgive me. Dragon, member for 2 months. We appreciate you. Tier 6 Karen, new Karen Evolution just dropped. I know. That's right. Snack_Panther gifted 5 indisputable memberships. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you. All right, well, we predicted this. Conservative plan calls for execution spree if Trump wins. Put it up full mass here. So that's the guy who's leading the charge. We said this would eventually happen. They're saying it out loud even before a presidential election. Per HuffPost, during the last 6 months of Donald Trump's presidency, his administration carried out an unprecedented execution spree by killing 13 people and ending a 17-year federal execution moratorium. After Biden took office, the Justice Department reinstated the moratorium and announced a sweeping policy review. However, despite Biden's campaign promise to end the federal death penalty, little progress has been made toward that goal. Meanwhile, Trump, the GOP's presumptive 2024 presidential nominee, has openly fantasized about executing drug dealers and human traffickers. He reportedly suggested that officials who leak information to the press should be executed too. And behind the scenes, there's a team of pro-Trump conservatives who are pushing for a second Trump term that involves even more state-sponsored killing than the first. Last year, a coalition effort by conservative groups known as Project 2025 released an 887-page document that lays out policy goals and recommendations for each part of the federal government. Buried on page 554, is a directive to execute every remaining federal death row prisoner, kill them all, according to page 554, and to persuade the Supreme Court to expand the types of crimes that can be punished with death sentences. Before I move on with the rest of the background to inform the masses of what they are planning to do, I want to remind you of how many people we've covered right here on Indisputable who were on death row, had a life sentence, convicted of a murder they never committed, never did it, always maintained their innocence. Even when they were up for parole, all parole wanted them to do was say, just say you did it. They said, I can't say I did it because I did not. And they sent them right back to prison. So now they want to take that system and make it even more absolute in its, well, some would say imperfection, I would say intentionally designed. Gene Hamilton, Executive Director, Executive Vice President, and General Counsel of America First Legal. Remember these guys? Is the author of the Transition Playbooks DOJ chapter. Hamilton wrote that the next conservative administration should, quote, do everything possible to obtain finality for every prisoner on federal death row, which currently includes 40 people. Quote, it should also pursue the death penalty for applicable crimes, particularly heinous crimes involving violence, which is ambiguous in his term, and sexual abuse of children until Congress says otherwise through legislation, he wrote. In a footnote, Hamilton said that this could require the Supreme Court to overrule the previous case, but the Justice Department should place priority on doing so. The Project 225 proposal envisions an extreme shift in how the death penalty is used in America. The 13 executions carried out at the end of Trump's presidency marked the greatest number of federal executions in a single year since 1896. You see, this is their plan to make America great again. Although there are non-homicide federal crimes like treason that technically carry the death penalty, every person on federal death row was convicted of crimes involving the death of a victim, according to Robin Mayer, the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center. So Robin stated that the expanded death penalty would significantly alter decades of jurisprudence, emphasizing that it's currently reserved for the most heinous crimes and offenders. She doubts there's sufficient Supreme Court support for such an expansion. Do you think this man, if you give him power again, is going to give a damn about the US Supreme Court? Do you really believe he's a check and balance kind of guy? You still believe that? There's no way possible you believe he is for democracy on any level. There's more. The High Court repeatedly held that carrying out the death penalty for rape would violate constitutional protections against cruel and unusual punishment. First in 1977, in a case involving the sexual assault of a woman, and again in 2008, case involving the sexual assault of a child. During the 2008 case, which ended in a 5-4 decision, several groups for survivors of sexual assault urged against the death penalty for child sexual assault. arguing that it would hinder young victims' healing process. 3 of the 4 justices who voted to allow the death penalty as punishment for the child sexual assault are still on the court, along with 3 other conservative justices, despite these Supreme Court rulings. There have been multiple state-level efforts to expand death sentences to non-homicide cases. Last year, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill allowing the death penalty in child sexual assault convictions. Lawmakers in Tennessee recently passed a similar bill, which awaits a signature or veto by the governor. Now, understand the argument, because I want to contextualize this properly. This is not about a person committing a heinous crime. This is about them creating a framework that allows them to indiscriminately kill people based on their feeling of how policy should work. Let's add this group. Let's add that group. Hell, Bill O'Reilly, when he was in his heyday, he said that drug dealers should be executed. So if you sell narcotics, if you believe Bill O'Reilly back then, you need to add them to it as well. When does it stop? When do you believe in rehabilitation of anything? When do you have common sense about the reality that states that have the death penalty have the highest murder rates in the United States of America? It never worked. There's no evidence that it ever deterred a crime of murder. There's more. Put him up. Biden. 2021, Biden, previously a supporter of the death penalty, became the first president to openly oppose it. Advocates hoped he would push for legislation to end federal executions or commute death row sentences, but he has remained largely silent on the issue. While the Justice Department paused executions and is reviewing policies, it has also continued to oppose legal challenges from those on death row. And here's the part that everyone should be concerned about. The reality of our criminal justice system is that they get it wrong often, and they get it wrong primarily when there's a black or brown person at the other end of that prosecution. Senator Turner, thoughts here?
There it is. I mean, that's it. That's what they're not saying out loud. I mean, this is just a covert way to push the limits of the law against black people, brown people, and then by extension, poor people from all walks of life. But black people are gonna be the first. That's what this is. And this is just, in simple terms, the definition of insanity and neo-fascism at play in the United States of America. Full frontal neo-fascism. And these people are not afraid, they're not ashamed. And so they're making their plans. So the argument has to be on the other side, is that people of good consciousness, people who want to reform this legal system and make it a more just system, because it is not just right now. We gotta be about the business of making the system more just as well, and not just let these crazy people get away with writing these plans and being ready. They ready, just in the same way they overturned Roe. They waited, they worked, they planned, they worked. And when the moment was right, they struck. And Roe has been overturned. Just in the way the people who don't want to see justice meted out for black people in the terms of jobs and opportunities. I'm talking about affirmative action, because affirmative action was meant to make crooked paths straight. Just using this for example, they waited, Doc. They kept working they plan and planning they work. And then when the right moment, bam, now we got that overturned by the United States Supreme Court. So let us not be confused, those of us who are on the side of righteousness and justice, that so we need to be working our plan and planning our work as well.
Come on now. So well said. They're playing chess, Democrats playing checkers.
There it is.
All right. Hell of a thing. A teen refused to stop filming as cops violently arrested his mother. Put up the picture full mass here. Per Atlanta Black Star, Deshaun Johnson, a black college-bound Louisiana teen who witnessed the violent arrest of his mother, Talia Perkins, by police officers in 2020, will now receive $185,000 in damages if a recent verdict in the civil rights lawsuit stands. Found that Deputy Ryan Mooring of the St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office intentionally inflicted emotional distress on Johnson in 2020 while the young Johnson was filming the arrest of his mother. Only 14 at the time. Video footage shows Johnson was threatened with a taser by the deputy when he attempted to record him, and fellow officer Kyle Hart manhandling his own mother. as she was taken into custody for a traffic violation she did not even commit. Affectionately known as DJ, Johnson celebrated the ruling. He expressed his pride in his and his mother's resilience, stating they did not back down after the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against them in November 2023, overturning a district court ruling that found the deputies could be sued on a claim using excessive force. They did not stop. Quote, "This win means so much to me. After all these years, to finally see justice served brings me peace and joy," Johnson said in a statement through his attorney, Keith Cohen. I was in 8th grade when this happened to me. Now I'm about to attend college. I'm proud of myself and my mom for refusing to accept what happened to us and for fighting for the justice we are owed. According to a press release from Reed Collins, Johnson was diagnosed and treated for post-traumatic stress disorder after the incident. Cohen, a partner at Reed Collins and Psy LLP, which worked alongside the ACLU of Louisiana's Justice Lab to appeal last year's ruling, echoed Johnson's sentiments. Quote, "There should be accountability for law enforcement officers who seek to intimidate those observing them in the line of duty. With this victory, that's exactly what happened today," Cohen said in a statement. According to court documents, the incident occurred on May 5th, 2020, in the driveway of the mother and son duo's home in Louisiana. Deputy Mooring and Deputy Hart were in the area investigating a complaint about someone riding a dirt bike without a helmet. Perkins said she had a motorcycle, not a dirt bike, and had not ridden it that day. According to Perkins, the deputies questioned her, and when she asked if she could if the call could have been racially motivated due to her having neighbors she deemed racist, things took a turn for the worse. You know, racists don't mind being racist. They just don't like you to call them racist. Okay, that's what they get upset about. Put it up for a mask. So a video shows both deputies handcuffing Perkins. Look at that picture. Look at this violent arrest, and she's not even the person they're looking for. They're just mad because she called their card. Pressing her face into the ground, pinning her legs with her knees as she protests, Perkins yells, "You're choking me." When she tells her son to record, the deputy pushes him away, tells him, "Step back." The teen says, "I'm not moving." Johnson keeps recording despite the deputy's attempts to stop him, even pointing a taser at him. And he says, "I'm a child. You cannot tase a child," Johnson protests. And the cop says, "Watch me." The child continued to record. Perkins was originally charged with resisting a police officer with force or violence, which is a felony, and 3 misdemeanors, including battery of a police officer, no proof of insurance, and no safety helmet. The 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit found no problem with the officer's treatment of Perkins in their November 30th ruling, writing, quote, "The video evidence conclusively demonstrates that neither deputy employed excessive force to subdue Perkins, who just as conclusively was resisting arrest." The panel allowed Johnson's suit to proceed in the November decision, although Judge James Holt dissented, writing, "The Constitution does not compel police officers to affirmatively help a citizen secure the ideal camera angle while that citizen is actively berating the police just a few feet away from an active physical struggle with another person," end quote. The verdict came one day before a controversial bill that would make it illegal to record police officers on official duty from less than 25 feet away was overwhelmingly passed by the House committee in the Louisiana legislature with an 8-1 vote. The House Bill 85 will now be debated in the State House of Representatives. Many civil rights activists obviously oppose this. So Suzanne Carboni at the sheriff's office, spokesperson, told the New Orleans Times that it would appeal the verdict. The sheriff's position is that the deputies took constitutionally appropriate actions. He labeled Johnson's case as a meritless claim for emotional harm, end quote. The jury disagreed, however. The jury disagreed as evidenced by the $185,000 they awarded in damages. Remember, they awarded it to a 14-year-old, even though the case took place a few years later. They're looking at it in the context of what you did to a child. All right, hell of a thing but it is here. Big ups to the leadership of this young man and the courage of the mother, because the mother said record. The child knew exactly what to do. When they were told you have nothing, they continue to press forward, and they got something. Now you got precedent today.
Yeah.
And because of that, things would change. Senator, thoughts here.
Woo, Doc, my mama, you know,
That's
my
right.
mama coming out of me right now. Yeah, to mama and to DJ, just thank them so much. And the fact that those deputies had no regard for this little boy, because he's 14, being a minor. You know, oftentimes there's studies out there, not only law enforcement, but this United States of America, unfortunately, do not see black children as children. The Tamir Rice case comes first to mind for me in Cleveland, Ohio, where these police officers rolled up on a playground and shot first, literally, and asked no questions. And when the officer who shot Tamir Rice was questioned, he said he thought he was 20 years old and Tamir was a 12-year-old boy. Same thing happened to DJ here. Why wouldn't they want DJ to record? If y'all ain't doing nothing wrong, if you following policy and protocol and procedure, what is being recorded can help you if somebody decides to lie on you. But the way they treated this black mama, Doc, the way they treated her black son, again, America, wake up. There is this disparate treatment. This is what we called this ain't micro. This ain't a micro. This is a straight up macro aggression here. And the fact that the department got the pure unadulterated gall to say that they're gonna appeal this instead of throwing themselves on the mercy of this family is quite telling, Dr. Richey. And I wish that this was the only situation like this in this country. It is not. There will be many more. So awakening people's consciousness on the fact that this still happening in the 21st century, I think is our number one job. And you do that so well, Doc, here on Indisputable. And let me say before I go, because I know you got the bullpen coming up, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there. This story reminded me of that mama love.
That's right.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
You're such a remarkable human being. I'm so thankful for your continued leadership. And until next time, Senator, make sure you tell people how they follow you. Check out your
go to
great work.
Twitter at Nina Turner on the gram, Nina Turner Ohio on the TikTok, which, you know, they trying to abolish here in the United States of America. But until then, Nina Turner Ohio.
Yeah, they coming. All right.
They coming.
Okay. We got more on the other side. The bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. This idea. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy we were putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You know, say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. Still got a lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Kind of pressed for time. I cannot read them all. Cats and Dragon. OG Karen better start reading her rental agreements more carefully. Yeah. Agreed. Joe Grice, I think it is. What is up with cops in Florida? You know what's up with cops in Florida. You know what's up with them. And Snack_Panther. Member for 19 months. Thank you for that. The Right Wing's Project 2025 is not going to help anyone. Yeah, it's going to help the 100% bigoted racist people that wrote it, right? Because that's the agenda that they're serving. It's so unfortunate they're saying it out loud and no one in the Republican Party has the backbone to actually say something about it out loud. They just talk about it behind the scenes. And Natural Born Keeler, thank you for that, by the way. Hey, Doc, can I get a shout out? It's my birthday today. Happy birthday. So much to celebrate. All right, we'll appreciate your continued leadership and support of the program. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, we have a treat for you. We have Mirtha Donastorg, economy and business reporter, core member with the Report for America and part of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's economy team. We're going to talk about Black business in the United States of America, diversity, equity, inclusion, etc. Good to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. This is fascinating to discuss in the context of this current political era, because we literally have government officials and by proxy, some governments, they have passed new laws in order to dissuade from minority business, entrepreneurship, funding, capital funding. And these things are discriminatory. I would like you to give us some landscape here as to what we're dealing with nationally as it relates to Black entrepreneurship and have these programs that I would consider to be repressive and oppressive, have they been effective at hindering the growth, the incubation of Black ownership?
Yeah, so let's start with looking at the landscape, right? These programs, federal and private programs, have been under legal attack, but they're not necessarily going away. So that's top line. Some of the lawsuits that we have seen, that you might have heard about in the news, have to do with the Small Business Administration, the Minority Business Development Agency, and then here in Atlanta, where I'm based, Fearless Fund, which is a venture capital firm started by Black women to support Black and minority women business owners. So those are some of the things that have been targeted with the Small Business Administration and the Minority Business Development Agency. Their programs to help boost Black and minority business owners have been under attack. And there have been rulings that have limited who those programs can help. With the Fearless Fund, that case is still in court, but their grant program giving $20,000 small business grants to Black women specifically has been paused by the courts while that lawsuit plays out.
So definitely these efforts have had an effect already. Naturally, we will not know all of the statistical data until maybe next year or so when we have to go back and review it. Let's talk about the culture, because policy is always birthed from culture. Policy is an expression of it. You see the culture, you understand the sentiment behind the policy. What's happening in the Black entrepreneurial space, if anything, to combat that policy dynamic contextualized through the culture that we see emerging in our political reality in America?
I think people have been very, standing 10 toes down in helping Black business owners. We see here in Atlanta, there's another venture capital firm, Collab Capital, that was started by 3 Black founders. And they have said multiple times in the wake of the case against Fearless Fund, they're not changing their thesis. They are still going to be supporting Black business owners because we see the gaps in funding. In Atlanta, just over the past year, the venture capital funding to Black founders dropped by more than 70%. That's just in the past year. There are these gaps and disparities that have existed. And so I think that businesses and groups and organizations that want to help Black and minority business owners, they are standing in their mission, even though it's more of a fraught legal landscape for them potentially.
You know, it's amazing to me that these discussions are being had outside of the context of the ecosystem of jobs. So let's put it back in the ecosystem of jobs. We already know statistically that African-American males in particular will have the highest unemployment rate. And a lot of this has to do with discriminatory factors, et cetera, that are just biased and rampant inside of the system. But the number one employer of Black people are Black people. And so typically when you have a Black owner of something and that Black owner is empowered to hire, that Black owner will hire Black people at a higher rate than, let's say, a non-Black owner would. So if you want to address the ecosystem of joblessness in certain communities, you have to empower the ones who have proven the track record that they are willing to hire individuals, which increases your tax revenue. This is a positive ecosystem when you look at it holistically. To unpack some of the material and the atmospheric impact that these policies could have, not only on Black folk in particular, but also by extension, the tax base that comes into a particular state.
Yeah, so let's look at the Small Business Administration, right? They have the 8A minority contracting program, which helps Black and minority small businesses get federal contracts, which can be worth millions, up to, I saw one contract that's up to $1 billion, wow. Right? So with those resources, you can hire, you can scale, you can grow your company, which can be very difficult to do. And if we look at Atlanta, about 97% of Black businesses in Atlanta are solopreneurs. They don't have employees. Now, imagine if 90%, or if that number got lower and lower, more people having employees, more jobs created. But with the Small Business Administration, this minority contracting program, I think that the impact of the lawsuit that said that the program couldn't use a presumption of racial categories, the Small Business Administration has kind of gone around that lawsuit, has kind of gone around that ruling. And now okay, we are still going to serve minorities, just you have to prove your social disadvantage in another way. So those resources still exist, but it is just a bit more, you can't just check a box anymore to prove that you deserve to be part of this program.
My dear friend, one of my best friends in life, is the former SBA regional director under President Obama, and that's Cassius Butts. And when he was the regional director, we did programs. We made sure people had information. We made sure we were inside of the communities. They utilized effectively the media apparatus because there was this emphasis on making sure we connected to those who historically have been left out. Seemingly, there's this disregard now in the culture for the reality of that disconnect, meaning people are saying we don't care about being intentional about connecting the dots anymore. Are you getting some of that sentiment from your studies of the policies that are emerging?
I think from what I've seen in my reporting, I think that there is still a lot of intentionality, especially in a city like Atlanta, where people have had to make a way out of no way for so long. And so understanding others' struggles, but usually that intentionality happens within, the Black community in Atlanta. There's a lot of resources to support. There's a lot of people who have come out vocally to support Fearless Fund and the lawsuit that they're facing. In terms of policies, I think that's more, like you said earlier, that's going to be the longer term impact that we're going to see. Right now, we're in this confusing legal landscape. People are unsure where the chips are going to fall. And so policies haven't been enacted necessarily to counteract some of the impacts of these lawsuits, because it's still a very new legal landscape.
Yeah. And we could wax poetic about Democrats and Republicans and the politics of it. So I live in Atlanta myself, and as you know, you get outside of Atlanta, you're in a whole different state. It feels like, right? You're in a different state. We have a Republican everything statewide. We don't have one Democratic statewide elected official in Georgia. So the policies for the state are at many times at odds with the sentiment of a city like Atlanta. So in your opinion, what's the future of these programs holistically moving forward?
So what I've seen in my reporting is that these programs still exist, right? The lawsuits have put a bit more of, I might have added some barriers to them, but the resources are still there. The Minority Business Development Agency still exists. You can still go to the office. In Atlanta, it's out at Georgia Tech. You can still go get the resources, get the help. Small Business Administration, it still exists. And so in the future of these programs, it's hard to say. I think that at least for federal programs, they are a bit more protected than state programs or private programs, because there is a budget, there are appropriations with, from Congress. But I think, we have yet to see exactly what the impact will be, but I don't think that they're going to go away. I've heard from people that I've spoken to that they feel like we're in kind of like a third Reconstruction moment right now, right? After the civil rights, or after the Civil War, that was the first Reconstruction. Second Reconstruction around the civil rights era. But in everything that we've seen that history has shown us, resources have come for Black and minority-owned businesses. People have also gathered around and supported communities.
Mirtha, this is great reporting, and it's great what you do to highlight this. And I want to make sure that viewers are able to follow you, check out your work, access the information, because this is an ongoing saga. And we have to pay very close attention to it. It impacts all of us. It impacts me as a business owner. It impacts us as a community. And it impacts the politicians or the elected officials that we support or don't support, based on how they see this issue inside the community. So how can people follow you, check out your work?
Yeah, you can go to ajc.com. That's the website for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's where you can see all of my work. That's primarily where it lives, is ajc.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.